Abstaining from sexual activity is a choice made by individuals for a variety of reasons, often rooted in health, religion, and spiritual beliefs. Whether it's a decision driven by concerns about physical well-being, adherence to religious doctrines, or deep connections to spiritual principles, this choice reflects the profound influence that personal values and convictions can have on one's approach to intimate relationships. This introduction opens the door to a broader exploration of the diverse motivations and consequences of sexual abstinence, highlighting the intricate interplay between physical, religious, and spiritual aspects of human life. Whether you practice the hookup culture or are on your quote-unquote hold phase, whatever choice you make pertaining to your sex life is all up to you. As for me, I took the opposite route. Just a disclaimer, this episode will contain words related to sex, so if you are not 18 years or older, or if the subject of sex is not your favorite subject, then I suggest you to skip this episode. If you are open to conversations about sex and are interested to hear my views on why I am abstaining from sex, keep listening because you don't want to miss this episode. Welcome back to another episode of yours truly. It is I, your one and only host, Druelee, of course. Who doesn't like to talk about sex? Like, come on. So, if you are tuning in right now, yes, this subject is going to be related to sex. Again, in my introduction, if you are sensitive when it comes to people talking or mentioning about sex, then this episode is not for you. On my previous episodes that I have uploaded, if you guys tune in to episode 19, Good Girl Finished Last, that episode is where I talked about, us good girls not being able to experience what it's like to come when we have sex with our partner. So if you want more details about my experience, definitely check that episode out. Another episode that I talk about sex, or that was very, sexual, I guess, is my experience with San Diego guy, episode 29, where I met him during my trip in San Diego, and I wasn't having it because he was too sexual to my liking, okay? So if you want to go back to those episodes and just take a listen, go right ahead. But if not, then stay away from those because, like I said, a lot of sexual talk, okay? So on this episode, I will be sharing with you guys my journey to abstinence. Now, if you are to ask me, what is abstinence? I didn't really hear much about this word ever since I got divorced. And when I am a curious human being and when I want to fully take control of my life, I like to do my research. I like to understand certain things in life, and being a fresh off the marriage divorce boat, abstinence and celibacy was one of the things that I learned. And of course, you can always Google what the meaning of it is, but for me, compared to abstinence and celibacy, there is a difference between that. But for me, I am practicing more of the abstinence versus celibacy. So for celibacy, it's pretty much, from my own definition, is that when you are celibate, you are no longer having sex. Like, sex is out of the table. You are becoming a nun or priest. And so you're not doing oral sex. You're not doing anal sex. You're not doing the front, back, upstairs, downstairs. You're not entering any hole of your body, okay? And so that's what celibacy is. For abstinence, even though you're not physically having sex, meaning that if you're not practicing any sexual, physical sex, right? That in the future, when you meet somebody, eventually you will have sex. So that's how I interpret it. But then again, you can always Google search the definition. But for this episode, I just want to show you guys my journey to abstinence. And this is a journey that a lot of people do not want to do. And, throughout my whole podcast, you guys know that I have been single. I've gone to a couple of dates. But when it comes to being in a serious relationship, I haven't done that after divorcing. And so a lot of people would take the route of jumping to a next relationship, or they are now in a relationship. As for me, I'm still single because I choose to do that. Like I said, some people don't choose to go through the single route, and that's totally fine. Whatever you choose. But for me, I chose to be single. And also I choose to be abstinent. And with that, a lot of people don't want to be abstinent. Of course, people say that when you're single, take the time to be in your whole phase, right? Be part of the hookup culture. If that is something that you want to do and you want to experience, great, go at it. For me, there are times where I do think about trying the different flavors of the Skittles, okay? But when I think about it, I have to take a step back and I have to reflect and ask myself, is this really who I am as a person, as an individual? And I have to be honest, as much as I wanted to try different, Skittles just to experience it, personally, I don't want to do that. And I have 4 reasons as to why I am not part of the hookup culture, nor do I want to practice it, or not having my whole phase. I will show you guys 4 of those reasons. And the first and foremost, the reason why I am abstaining from sex is, number 1, of course, is health reasons. Of course, there's a lot of people out there who are lucky enough to jump from one body to another, and they have never experienced having STDs, chlamydia, or HIV. For me, I just want to prevent myself and the headache of going through all of that. There are some people who are unfortunate to, of course, sleep with one person and then they got HIV the first time. And, it's unfortunate, but for me, I'd rather not put myself in that situation and not having to think that for the rest of my life, I am carrying this virus and there's no way to get rid of it. So that is the first reason why I do not want to just sleep around with anybody. Also, to add to that, you can contract UTI. So before I left my previous relationship, I had my very first UTI. I think I've had it a couple times, so this was the major one where, ladies, if you know what I'm talking about, if you've experienced what it's like to have UTI, that shit hurts like shit. It feels like somebody just grabbed your uterus and just pulled the shit out of your pussy, okay? And so that was, yes, I did not like the experience. And I also feel like when you are with a partner who does not clean very well down there, chances are he's going to give you a UTI. And for that, I just do not want to deal with that. I want to make sure that my kitty down there is clean, is healthy, and there's no smell or anything like that. Even though you try your hardest to clean yourself down there, if your partner does not clean his the way that he eats or drinks, his health-wise, when he comes inside of you, or when, extra pee it comes inside of you, it can cause UTI. And again, I'm not a scientist, doctor, expert, but from my experience and from what I've read online and whatnot, I don't want to deal with that, okay? So I want a clean eggplant, okay? I don't want a dirty one. And I don't know if there's anybody or a video that can teach a man how to clean his eggplant down there, but from my experience, I just don't want to deal with that, okay? So, of course, first and foremost, you got to be healthy. You got to make sure that your body is healthy. You got to make sure that you don't have any disease, or you're with someone who doesn't have that. And there are times people will lie that they don't have HIV. There are times a guy will lie that he's clean, but really he's not clean. Especially when you do oral. Yeah, some guys, they're not clean. And so to prevent me from getting all of that germs inside of me, I just rather just abstain and not have sex with anyone. The second one is getting pregnant. Now, I've never been pregnant. Well, I've been pregnant twice, okay, but I've never really experienced a full term. However, of course, when you get pregnant, you know what that means. You're going to have a kid, and then you're going to have to, basically your life changed, okay? For those who have kids and who has experienced all of that, you know what I'm trying to say. Even though I've never experienced having kids or going through a full-term pregnancy, I still understand it, okay? Because for me, I put myself in other people's shoes. And with that, I realized that kids are expensive. So let's say that I was having sex with a person and somehow the condom didn't prevent us from not getting pregnant and I was pregnant. I know that it's going to be expensive. Just living my life as a single woman, I'm already struggling, just trying to keep up with, my finance and trying to live life. To add another human being in my life, I don't know if I can do that. Plus, on top of that, what if you have a one-night stand or you were dating this guy for a couple months and you guys are in a situationship, right? So what happens if we were like that or I was like that, right? What happens if he doesn't want to be part of my life or he wants nothing to do with the child that we created? I'm going to be a single mom and I don't know how I am able to do that. I've seen a lot of single moms who are killing it and I'm pretty sure it is a struggle. But at the same time, just visioning myself, putting myself in their shoes and thinking about me being a single mom, I don't think I'm capable of doing that. Especially with how my life is, I don't depend on my parents. I don't depend on my siblings to, if I were to have kids, I know for a fact that I can't depend on them because they have their own life. And to have sex, and even if I'm careful or not, there's an oopsie and I'm pregnant. And if this guy is not willing to step up to be the father of our baby and he doesn't want nothing to do with our lives, I'm going to be a single mom. I understand that in order to raise a child or to raise kids, you need two partners to be able to do that. If I am just going to be the only one that's taking care of this child, then I'd rather not have sex at all. Okay. Don't get me wrong. I'm pretty sure there are good and bad things about having kids. But for me, just thinking about my life and what I'm going through, I just rather not have sex with a guy, knowing that if something happens and I get pregnant, I don't want to be a single mom. I understand that it takes two people to raise a child. And for those who are capable of doing it by yourself, kudos to you, props to you. But for me, I just can't see myself doing that. So moving on to number 3, religious belief. In my previous episode, you guys have heard that, I grew up in a church and I've been a good girl. And there's a lot of things that is written in the Bible that talks about saving yourself and practicing purity. Now, in my church, we didn't really talk much about saving yourself or being pure after marriage. All I've learned or what I was exposed to when going to church is to not have sex, and you're supposed to save that after you get married. And you're supposed to have sex with your husband, and that's it. I do have to say that that's what I practice. And a lot of people, they fall short on that, okay? Like, don't get me wrong. If you were able to practice purity right after marriage and you're able to hold on to that urge, then kudos to you too, okay? But people like me, where we fall short and we did give in, there was a lot of things that, what the Bible and what other people or what other Christian people will think of you when you lost your virginity before marriage. I mean, to go in depth with that, that was one of the reasons why, even before I was in my previous relationship, I didn't have sex because, one, you don't know anything about sex. Second of all, growing up in a church where they don't talk about sex, or they talk more about wait until you're married to have sex, and all of that is just ingrained in my head to where I'm thinking, okay, it's best if I just not have sex, because if I have sex, getting pregnant and then getting all those diseases, especially the pregnant part. If you get pregnant, it goes back to my culture as well too. A lot of shame. Same with religion. A lot of people bring a lot of shame to you when you have sex before marriage and when you get pregnant before you get married. So a lot of fear, a lot of things that makes you not want to have sex. So growing up, that's what I believed, and that was what I was told. And even though I didn't fully practice purity before marriage, for those who are practicing that or saving yourself until marriage, I give you all props, because, you know, I was just one of those few people that didn't make it, and you know, it's okay. And for those who tried it and didn't make it, like me, you know, it's okay. It's okay that, you know, it didn't work out. As long as you understand yourself, you know what you want and need, you don't have to practice that. But if religion is something that is a part of you or is a value to you, then go right ahead. There's not a lot of people who are Christians who actually waited until marriage. There are a few who are waiting until marriage to have sex. So whatever floats your boat, whatever you believe in, whatever you want to do, that's totally up to you. I understand both sides because I've done it. And like I said, I didn't succeed towards the end, but you know what? It's okay. I believe that God is not going to judge you or going to look down upon you just because you didn't wait until marriage. With this subject, I can go into depth on a separate episode, but to keep it short and to keep it simple for you guys, this is another reason why I am not having random sex with anybody else, because I still believe in that. I still believe in the Bible's teaching. Even though I don't go to church or I don't consider myself a Christian, I am still a believer in God. I believe there is a God, and I am waiting just because I choose to wait, you know. And let's say that one day if I do meet somebody and I feel comfortable, who knows? Like, you never know. Like, for those who are in this abstinence journey, and people are saying that, you know, you're supposed to wait until marriage, and let's say if you don't wait until marriage, it's okay, because you never know. Like, don't just tell people that, okay, I'm gonna wait until marriage to have sex again. And what happens if you meet somebody who is, you know, whom you can trust, whom you respect, you feel comfortable and safe with this person? You never know what's gonna happen. So for me personally, if you are abstaining because of religious beliefs, go right ahead. If you are abstaining because of religious belief, but you met somebody that you are willing to have sex with, then that's totally up to you. Whatever works. For me, it's as long as I am safe, I can trust this person, that's all that matters. Am I willing to wait after marriage? Yes, if the person that I'm with is willing to wait after marriage. But if not, then, you know, so be it. I'm not going to be too strict on that. Again, there's a lot that goes in depth with that, but eventually I'll do a separate episode on that. That way I can, you know, go in deep into why this works, why this doesn't work. And that way you guys have more of an understanding as to why some people practice this purity thing, whatever you want to call it. Okay. So that's number 3. And then last, number 4 is spiritual belief or spirituality belief. So with that, I consider myself a believer in God, but I'm also spiritual as well. I also see things on the spiritual side. Again, I'm not an expert, but then spirituality is something that I am interested in. It's very intriguing. And when I do things in my life, I also see things in a spiritual way as well. If you are currently dating, or if you are watching a lot of videos or social medias about dating, a lot of people have been talking about like narcissism, empath, and a lot of like soul ties, gaslighting, manipulation, and all that stuff, right? So I was introduced to all of that after I was divorce. If you look at it in the spiritual side, people have a hard time letting go of exes, or they tend to sleep around with the exes because they have a soul tie with them. How I look at it spiritually, I believe that when I do have sex with other men, whatever partner they had sex with, they still have the energy from the previous partners. I am very selective when it comes to being around certain people, just because you never know what kind of energy people have. I want to prevent being around people who have negative energy. And with that, I also believe that when you have sex with a person, you both do exchange energy. So for example, if I was a type of woman where I slept with so many guys, and the guys that I slept with are very abusive, very negative, whatever energy that we exchange, and let's say I met a new guy who is really nice, and we connect and all that stuff, or he hasn't had a lot of experience how I did, my energy of the men that I slept with will intertwine with his energy as well. It could make you be a different person. It can make you feel differently. It can make you become someone that you're not. And again, you guys don't have to believe that, but for me, for those who are very spiritual, I believe that. Okay, I believe that whatever partner that you sleep with, you still have that soul tie, and you will still contain the energy that they have. To prevent myself from sleeping with guys who have numerous partners, or just men in general who have bad energy, I'd rather not sleep with a guy who has all of that. Okay. I get it. In this world, nobody's perfect, and human beings, they are very sexual, and this is something that I don't take lightly, just because I want to prevent any negative energy that will come into my body. This could be another episode as well, where I can talk in depth in my experience of why I believe you shouldn't just sleep with just random people in a spiritual aspect. And so again, just keep on following me, keep on listening, because eventually I will go into depth as to my experience as to why I believe you shouldn't sleep with just random people because of the spiritual aspect. But I just don't want to catch other people's energy. Even if you don't believe in the spiritual side and you're more of reality side, that's all up to you. But I do believe that that's just one of the reasons why a lot of exes, they go back to each other and they still sleep with each other, because of having that tie with each other and just having that energy left of that person. And I mean, thank God I didn't go back and sleep with my previous partner. I know that there are a lot of people that do that, and so I get it. It's hard, okay? When it comes to sex, it's really hard to not give in, okay? Been there, but if you guys want me to do another episode of all that stuff, let me know, and I can tell you guys what I've done. But in the meantime, this is what I am doing. And the reason why I am abstaining from sex is, of course, I want to prevent myself from having any disease, any UTI. I want a healthy body, okay? Second of all, as much as I will want to be pregnant, I don't want to be pregnant just because of a one-night stand or just with a random guy that I don't know. And to prevent me from getting pregnant, I'd rather not have sex. And even if I have sex with this person, what are the chances of you getting pregnant, right? You might get pregnant. What happens if he doesn't want to be with you because he wasn't serious, he was just having fun? And, that's something that I don't take lightly of. Like, I believe that you need two partners in order to raise a child. And so if I'm doing this by myself, I'd rather not put myself in that situation. And third, of course, for a religious belief, again, even though I don't go to church or I don't really do everything that is written in the Bible, I still believe in waiting until after marriage. And let's say if it doesn't happen, I will eventually know when it's ready to give it up, okay? But again, whatever you believe, that's totally up to you. That's still a part of me as an individual, that I still believe. And then, of course, the last part is, seeing sex as a spiritual thing, where if you do have sex with another person, you both are exchanging energy. And it's to a point where if you want to break up with this person or if you want to leave this person, it's going to be hard because you guys already exchanged the energy already, to a point where you guys are tied to each other. And so you got to be careful. Like for me, I'm just being extra careful. Again, I am already loving my life. I'm very content, and I don't want to just randomly sleep with random guys just for the heck of it. And yes, sex is fun, but I feel like once you realize that it's more to just having fun when it comes to sex, it's more like you want the intimate relationship, the intimate exchange, and you just don't want to hit it and quit it. I honestly feel like if you are just fucking with each other and you guys are just hitting and quitting and that's it, and then there's nothing more, I feel like it's just similar to just masturbating in a way. I mean, the way that I see it, when you have that urge, you masturbate and then there it is. That's it. You don't really have that intimate conversation with each other. It's just, for me, it's not fulfilling. And for those who are just having fun and doing their own thing, whatever works for you is you. But if you're the type of person where you do value yourself, you value relationship, you value that connection with another person, then I suggest not fucking around, okay, not sleeping around. It's just so that it saves you the heartache of the emotion. And if you're a type where you're very emotional and you want more from that person, then it's best to not have sex at all. That's just my opinion. Again, do whatever you want to do, whatever floats your boat, because at the end of the day, it is your life. Nobody is in control of that but yourself. If you want to begin your journey to abstinence, go right ahead. And I feel like a lot of people nowadays, they just gave up on having sex and they just decided to embark in this journey of abstinence. And if it's helping you to just put yourself at a center where you're just focusing on yourself and not focusing on just having sex or just focusing on another person, this is a great way for you to do that. And that's what I'm doing. And yes, even though I do miss having sex, okay, like I'm just gonna be honest, at the end of the day, I know myself that, sex is just not it. Because as a person, I want more than just sex. Sex should be an addition to the relationship, not the full entire thing. The moment when you take out sex, what is there in the relationship? So that's how I see things. That's how I view things. Again, if you are not that deep when it comes to your individual self, or if you see sex as just a fun thing, that's you. But for me, I take sex seriously, and I'm just being careful for myself and my partner as well. I'm just going to be very selective, basically. That is all that I have for this episode. I feel like this is a very short one. I'm just direct and up to point. And if this is an episode that is helping you to see sex in a different way, or if you are starting your journey to abstinence, I am there for you as well too, okay? I do realize that, and I do notice that when it comes to dating, a lot of time guys will ask us women our body counts and if we're waiting until marriage. I mean, those are just personal questions that they ask you. I've heard that some people say that you shouldn't tell your partner or you shouldn't tell the guy that you're meeting. Whatever works for you. If you feel comfortable letting them know, great. If you don't feel like telling them all these business, you don't have to tell them. Me personally, I'm not going to tell you guys just because I'm just keeping to myself. Like I said, I am an open book, but I think it comes to a point where if you see this person whom you want to be serious with, then that's up to you if you want to answer those questions. For me, I would say no. I would not answer those questions if a guy asked me, just because it's none of his business. If I do see that he's a guy where he's just a friend or who is just curious about a mind of a woman when it comes to the sex subject, or asking a woman her body count or her waiting until marriage, then I am open to have the conversation. But if it's someone that I'm interested in and somehow he happens to ask me those questions in an earlier stage of a relationship, then I would just say no. I wouldn't even share that with that person. But whatever works for you, that's totally up to you. But everyone has their own reason as to why they are abstaining from sex. And if it's helping you along the way, great. If there's something that's new, definitely research it. There's tons of resource about abstinence and celibacy. It also intertwined with religion as well too, even in culture as well. So again, do your research. But for me, I choose this route versus, following the hookup culture or being on my quote unquote whole phase. Even though, I imagine myself going through that stuff, I probably would have a good time, but I gotta, get back to reality. Like, I have to realize that that's not me. Okay, it's just not me. You have to understand yourself. If you don't understand yourself and what you can and cannot do, then you're gonna have a hard time not being in this abstinent journey. But overall, that is all that I have for this episode. Very simple, short, and yeah. And other than that, don't forget to check my Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. What else do I have? YouTube, of course. And check my website as well too. And other than that, that is all I have for this episode. Thank you so much for those who have been tuning in and supporting me. I always give you guys a shout out towards the end of my episode. Love you guys super, super much. Until then, I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye.